there is a system out there that is designed to get money away from you. It is designed to rob you of your money. It is designed to frustrate you financially. Let me explain. One of the great leaders of nations in the last few decades, Ronald Reagan, made an interesting statement. As President of the United States, he said, "Your government is not your friend." Now, that is really interesting. Your government is not your friend. If you understand the workings of government and the science of government, you will observe very quickly that governments in most nations of the world do the same thing. I'm going to read something to you. In one of your loved specials, I read some scriptures. I think I should explain to you here. In 1 Samuel, the Bible tells us from chapter 8. Actually, you can begin the story even earlier, but in chapter 8, he explains to us how that the people said to Samuel, "We want a king. We want to be like other nations." So on earth in those days, the various nations had their kings. But Israel had no such king. The Lord was their king. That's what he said. The Lord was their king. So one day, they came to the prophet Samuel and they said to him, "Your children are not following your footsteps. So we don't know what they're going to make us do." They take bribes. They're very bad guys. And you're old. So now, make us, you look at that in verse 5. They said unto him, "Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations." But the thing displeased Samuel when they said, "Give us a king to judge us." And Samuel prayed unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Samuel, "Hearken unto the voice of the people in all that they say unto thee, for they have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them." Did you see that? God said, "Go ahead, give them a king." It's not you they rejected. He said, "They rejected me." So from God's perspective, he was rejected. He says, "They've rejected me that I should not reign over them." So he says, "Go ahead, give them a king." So they said they want to be like other nations, all right? Then, verse 8, according to all the works which they have done since the day that I brought them up out of Egypt, even unto this day, wherewith they have forsaken me and served other gods, so they do also unto thee. So God's telling Samuel, the way they treated me is the way they're treating you right now. So don't be bothered. Now therefore, hearken unto their voice. Howbeit, yet protest solemnly unto them, and show them the manner of the king that shall reign over them. It says, these don't understand yet what those other nations are going through. Here's how those kings function. He's going to tell him now. They said they want a king like other nations. He says, protest to them and tell them the manner of the king, the kind they're asking for. Here's what they do. So there was only one nation whose government was different. And now the people of that nation say, we don't want this kind. We want to be like others. So he says, verse 10, and Samuel told all the words of the Lord unto the people and asked of him a king. And he said, this will be the manner of the king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them for himself, for his chariots, and to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots. He will appoint him captains over thousands and captains over 50s, and will set them to ear his ground, and to reap his harvest, and to make his instruments of war, and instruments of his chariots. God didn't need that. When God led them to war, without instruments, they won the battle and they got the spoils. They got the armory of all the others. They got everything. They didn't have to make any. That's how they got their weapons. They didn't make. They defeated their enemies and got the weapons of their enemies and became richer. But now he says, you're going to have to start making your weapons. And God used extraordinary ways to defeat their enemies. So it didn't matter what weapons their enemies came with. They won the battle. Now they're going to be working, living according to the limitations of their king. And he will take your daughters to be confectionaries, and to be cooks, and to be bakers, and he will take your fields. He will take your fields and your vineyards and your olive yards, even the best of them, and give them to his servants. He will take the tenth of your seed and of your vineyards and give to his officers and to his servants. And he will take your men servants and your maid servants and your goodless young men and your asses and put them to his work. He will take the tenth of your sheep, and ye shall be his servants. They won't stop, he says, until you are his servants. They won't stop. Why? Because until they get the people to penury, until they successfully take the people down and remove their financial abilities, they themselves will not trust that their positions are safe. So part of what they're advised by their tutors is not really how to make their people rich, contrary to what the people think. Ask yourself, how many nations have been made rich by their kings, by their governments? Every now and then, you have a good president or prime minister that comes into office and tries to help the people, then they make sure he's out. Don't take so long before he's either killed or somehow they get him out of office. They find ways, because there's a group that believes it's their divine responsibility to remain in office and to dictate who rules. You think they want to give up the power so easily? Often, except they are violently overthrown, they never leave office. Study your history. All nations have been that way. All nations. He will take the tenth of your sheep, and ye shall be his servants. And ye shall cry out in that day because of your king, which he have chosen you, and the Lord will not hear you in that day. So the governments are not set up for the same purpose that the people think. It's been that way. It's been that way. A new government comes in and the people are like, wow, 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 this will be our... No, it's only for his servants. It's only for those who are connected to him. They are the ones. They will get everything that belongs to others and give to them. Until another one who does not like them gets into office and you collect from them and give to his own. So the people remain what? Poorer and poorer and poorer. They use several means. Either they use taxation, or they devalue their currency. The devaluation of the currency, what does it do? It impoverishes the people. So they didn't tax you more. They just reduced what you had. The power, your purchasing power has been depleted. So don't look at government in a local way. Look at it in a global way. Understand this. By that I mean, don't, like you're in Nigeria, don't look at government in a Nigerian context. You have to look at government in a global context. Why? Because Nigeria is in the sight of those who want to rule globally. It's not outside. So it's part of their target. So they will not sit back and say, oh, Nigeria is prospering over there. That's wonderful. We would like to do business with them. No. No, they would like to control Nigeria. They would like to influence Nigeria. And not only Nigeria, every country. They would like to. So it's all in their sight. So don't think in local contexts. Think globally. And that's why when we pray, we look at it from a global perspective.